Four thugs and tyrants. It's one hell of a fight. Isn't life exciting, though, men? Is life not exciting, men?
Yes.
Let me hear your war growl, both of you. Yeah, watching this here at the office, it is like Discovery or History Channel or Nova quality. And it's got all these huge actors, a lot of the folks from Lord of the Rings. I remember watching the making of Lord of the Rings. They had the sword master saying that Viggo was the best swordsman he'd ever seen for an actor. And he trained hundreds. He was listing all the things he'd done. I think that guy's in here. I think I recognized him when I was watching it at your office a few weeks ago when it came. And it turns out the maker of this is also a listener of the show. And so we appreciate Daniel McNicoll for coming on. And just very, very exciting. And this thing is not out yet. So when it comes out, we'll have him back on. Maybe we'll even carry it. But I would hope this would be in theaters or on TV. I'm flattered that we've kind of gotten this first kind of a sneak peek here. In fact, I've been so busy, I never even asked if we could play a clip or something. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Maybe on the second time he comes on. But Daniel McNicoll, thank you for coming on today, sir.
It's my pleasure, Alex. And let me say, it is a pleasure to be on your show, and you're a very good man, and keep up the great work.
Well, I try. You're a great guy, because I always make the point, reading up on history, that going back to Rome, going back to the samurai 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago in Japan, going back to the Sun Kings in France, going back to the Tudors, the commoners, the slaves, couldn't own hunting dogs, couldn't have knives over a certain length with pointed ends. And, of course, you covered that. That's what I love, is this is something with big stars and a lot of folks that actually explains that having a blade was a thing of nobility, and that's what nobility is force and the ability to carry out force. So your film is really pro self-defense as well, but that's only one facet of it. So it's great to have you here. And I'll tell you who's also a big fan is our producer here, Rob Dew. Because when he came to me at first, he said, I said, a show about swords? I go, I have sword fights with my kids, and I fence at about a third grade level. My dad was real good at fencing in college. But so I know a little bit about it. But he said, no, watch the film. And I did. So it's great to have you here. The film is Reclaiming the Blade. Why do you say Reclaiming the Blade?
Reclaiming the Blade's the movie. Actually, I must say that it is, even though it won't be in stores, which is Barnes & Noble and Target and Best Buy and Blockbuster and all that type of stuff, that happens July 7th. But it actually is. We're being a bit sneaky. And we're going to we've already gone ahead and we're releasing it directly from Galatia Films Home Entertainment, which is our shingle production company that put this film out. So okay,
how do folks get it then? How do folks get it right now then?
Swordmovie.com, reclaimingtheblade.com. You can actually order the film, and it actually is a 2-disc set. So the second disc has a lot of great bonus features. There's like 4 hours of extra interviews with Viggo Mortensen and some great stuff from What a Workshop. Because we went down to New Zealand.
Yeah, how did you get Viggo in this? I guess he's just a sword fanatic, is what I've heard.
Viggo is a great guy, and I can't say enough good things about him. He'll do something not based on money, but based on whether or not he thinks it's a passion project. You know what I mean? So that's what's great about him. He's not one of these Hollywood actors that's driven by dollars, So he just, felt like it was the right thing to do. And obviously one thing that attracted to him was our tribute to Bob Anderson. So we did an exclusive with Bob, who was Darth Vader. He was actually in Darth Vader's costume, training Mark Hamill, doing all the lightsaber duels with him in the first early films. He's trained Johnny Depp, who's also a big fan as well. And, he's worked with everyone from Errol Flynn to Viggo Mortensen. He's just a legend in the industry when it comes to fight choreography. But the interesting thing about the film, when I was writing it, I really wanted to get into the script, some verbology, if you will, just some text in there that John Rhys Davies would read, because John Rhys Davies actually is a good friend of mine. He narrated the film. And I was fascinated with this idea of the kings. And basically the kings of England had two choices when they were looking at an army. They had a choice A, which was hire your own military. That is, pay for your knights, pay them money. It's a financed army. So that's option A. Option B is let your whole country and all of your nation and all of your boys 13 ages and up, study the longbow, study the sword, and be capable with arms.
Yeah, that was the Dutch and the Swiss model and others, was to raise your army as the militia. And those always turned out to be the countries that didn't get invaded. But if you had oppressive nobles, they didn't like to arm their people. So we think 1776 is where this keep and bear arms thing all began. No, it was a free man thing. People had arms in England. That's what the Magna Carta was all about. And that's what's so great about your film is that I think it's a great defense of the Second Amendment.
Absolutely. And I'll just go ahead and say on record, John Rhys Davies is the Charlton Heston of today. I mean, he is a great defender of the Second Amendment. I don't want to really speak for any of the other actors. They're great guys. I know Viggo's obviously a supporter of Dennis Kucinich. For the anti-war thing, I know Viggo's active. The point is, your film's message shows how fundamental. People think we want swords or we want guns because we pet them and kiss them and it's our extension of our manhood. No, we know it is handed down. It is a sacred obligation that a free man is armed. A slave doesn't have access to weapons. Absolutely. And if you look at the greatest periods of English history, they weren't the Dark Ages where the knights were paid by the king. They were an age where the king and as we know, English history is when you study English history, you look at the history of the monarchies, which king was in power at any given time. And the kings that gave the power to the people, they were taking a risk in a way, because if the people didn't like what the king was doing, they wouldn't support him. They'd say, I don't think so, And so, so the king was beholden to the people, and the people had a checks and balance that existed in the sword. So the sword is really a checks and balance.
That's it. You say it so simply instead of me sputtering and babbling it. It is a check and balance. It is a canary in the coal mine. It is a great equalizer. As the UN says, civilian ownership of firearms threatens the legitimate power monopoly of the state. Well, we believe a power monopoly of the state is illegitimate, but that's why this film is so important. And I didn't know it was available today. I guess you just started offering it. So, folks, tell folks how they get it again.
We might get in trouble for this, but, let it be. It's actually available at swordmovie.com and Reclaim the Blade. It'll be in stores, Target, Barnes & Noble, etc., July 7th, and that's when we're really going to, hit with the publicity. And I'd love to have John Rhys Davies on your show. Let's do it. Can. Maybe closer to that date.
And I promise I won't get you on late again. I just got into a rant, and then you were okay with it.
And now, if I could, I would love to send you guys some lightsabers. I'll send you a couple so you guys can. They're a lot of fun. The new Force FX lightsabers. I don't know if you've seen them that Hasbro makes, but they're metal and plastic handles that are really heavy, so they got the good feel and the weight of a sword. And then they have all the sights and sounds of like a real lightsaber. So,
I know. I've got. This is kind of. I've got 5 of them. I've got the little. Well, I've got Yoda ones for my kids, little green ones. Because my bigger daughter and my son, because the baby obviously can't have sword fights, they attack me, and it's gotten to the point where they're beating me, and then I'll be fighting my son alone, and he's beating me some of the time. So we have absolute knockdown dragouts, and the neighbors are looking out their windows in the backyard, and we're like, it's just total warfare. But no, I want some of those. I want some more.
I'll send some more, and I'll tell you what. Look, I don't mean to get into the whole movie thing, but that's the great thing about movies. When you look at Robin Hood, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, 300, Gladiator, all of these movies have the same message, and that is essentially at the core you have a rebel army against an empire. I mean, you look at Robin Hood. You've got Robin Hood. He robs from the rich. He gives to the poor. He protects the poor. King Richard is off on a crusade, and King John is this corrupt tyrant that has taken over England, and here's Robin Hood. He's a rebel. Same thing with Star Wars. Same exact thing. You have the Rebel Alliance. You have Order 66, which was execute all the rebels. You look at Pirates of the Caribbean. You have free sailors, free pirates, and you have this corrupt, tyrannical British Empire at the time. Obviously, a lot of these stories are based in fiction and history. But Pirates of the Caribbean. Whether you're big on pirates or not. I mean, at the core of the story, it's about free men fighting against unjust taxes. No representation, and so they were thugs out, doing what they could, Same thing with 300. 300 is a very good example because you have obviously 300 Spartans, And then Gladiator, same thing. So, in studying...
And by the way,
movies
for folks that don't know, 300's a true story. Now, the movie,
yes,
the comic book version, they add some ridiculous goblins and things, but I mean, that story is true.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, for those that don't know.
It's fun to delve into the movies, and that was something
We just lost his phone line. Let's call him back and get him back on. That happens occasionally. Genesis phone system didn't go down, did it? All right, call him back. That was his phone then. Okay, you know what? Let's bring Rob Dew in on this because, again, I wouldn't just have somebody on about a movie about swords. This is about the history of it and how it's a check and balance and how people fought to have the right to be armed. And absolutely, it was also a right to have social mobility. The first things that got liberalized, because, frankly, the kings wanted to have larger, stronger armies to take over other nations, so they allowed limited